people there now that don't care. They absolutely don't care, including the local that represents us, Local 436. I know this for a fact. Okay, I have spies everywhere. I know what's going on. Okay? People are like, how do you know that? I said, I got spies everywhere. That's how you find out stuff. You make your network, you have your spies, and you find, people call me and say, did you know? I said, yeah, I already know that. I already know that. Okay? We have to stick together, DOH and DOE. How many nurses are here from DOE today? And I'm very happy to
Thank you.
Okay?
Solidarity.
The pay parity issue is mainly a DOH issue, as we know. However, it affects staffing everywhere. Because guess what? Everybody's going to be moved like a little ball, a ping pong ball on the table.
Equal pay for equal work.
Equal pay for equal work.
Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work.
So what we're going to do next, what we have to do, each of you have a school, okay? I'm retired, I don't have a school. But you can talk to the parents. You need to get them to write. We're even thinking about doing a 311 blitz, like calling 311. But let us find out what date and what the script is going to be for that. Because I don't want nursing supervisors taking the heat. Because you know, 311 calls, they'll go right back to the supervisor if you say the school. So we can't say the school, we just have to say this is a global issue when we have them call 311. Okay, they're already overburdened. Have you noticed they haven't replaced any nursing supervisors? I left 16 months ago and there's no replacement.
Right.
Citywide, they're not replacing supervisors or borough nursing directors. Okay? The only thing that they're doing is hiring nurses for the schools and because they know they had pods. And now you're out of the pods too, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, we're out of the pods. Yes, we are.
So, yeah. You're out of the pods. I tried to get some of you here a few weeks ago and people were, you know, busy working the pods, but now that's over. And you know that that was going to be short-lived. This is for the rest of your career. This is for your pension. This is what you earned. And the other thing I want to emphasize as you talk to staff, as you talk to parents, let them know that we don't just do this job. We have been working in the pods. The Department of Health and Mental Hygiene nurses have done every public health emergency from 911 to present. And DOE nurses have worked in the pods as well. So they have to understand we have dual roles. We're part of the city's plan to take care of New York City. Not just children, but adults. A lot of parents don't know that either, okay? We have to educate them. The other thing that's really important, we're not a nurse is a nurse is a nurse. We are what? School nurses. We are a specialty. You just don't drop into a medical room and become a school nurse. You have to be orientated. You have to have education. You have to have ongoing education. You have to have support of a supervisor and your peers. Travel nurses and contract nurses do not have any training.
Right.
They don't have access to the computerized medical record, which is a whole other issue. Okay? And they're not supervised.
And they make a lot more money.
And they make more money. Okay?
Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work.
So if I would like for all of you to take this message back to your schools, speak to your parent PTA presidents. If you have relationships, and hopefully you do with parents, especially with children that have MAS, they need to know that you're here today, but if you're out, it may not be a replacement. Or they may be calling you to go to another school.
Yes.
A lot of them don't realize that this is a reality. And it's not a new reality, it's an old reality, and it's going to get worse. We also know that we have an aging population of nurses. I retired over a year ago. We know within the health department and probably DOE too, we have aging populations that are going to retire. We have people that are drift and leave the city. Okay? We also have a younger group of nurses who are tired. They're getting their degrees and they're contemplating other jobs in nursing. So look for them to be going very soon too. They're looking at H&H. They're looking at ACS. they're looking at the nurse-family partnership in the health department that pays more than a supervising nurse in school health. Okay? So these are the kinds of things we're up against besides the private sector. The city, the parents need to understand we love their kids, we want to take care of their children, but they have to show support at this point. Because otherwise their children's lives are what?
At risk.
At risk and in danger. Okay? We have to make it crystal clear to them. Equal pay for
Equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work.
One more thing I want to say. Does everybody know about a year ago, the Board of Health met and deregulated the standards for the medical room? You can look it up. I forgot what month it was. So they had Gail Admin be the puppet, and she had to say, you know, we're deregulating medical because we're in a pandemic. So the only thing you have to have is a phone and a sink with running water.
No, you don't.
You don't need anything else. You don't need privacy. You don't need ventilation. You don't need AC. You don't need any of that. So I want you to keep that in mind. The other thing that de Blasio did right before the pandemic started, he told any school that wants a nurse, you can have one. And they filled them with agency nurses. That is still going on. They don't report to the supervisors. They report to Central. So if they're in a closet, in a hallway, in a gym, in a staircase, in an auditorium, that doesn't matter to them. And it doesn't matter to them that children are being cared for in these environments. And they're still getting paid. So I wanted you to know, does everybody know those things too? We have a whole group of contract nurses where they're working in inadequate, unsafe spaces. And unsupported, okay? And it's a separate supervision stream. There's somebody in central office taking care of that as well. Because they don't want the supervisors to know. Okay, but we know, and we have to let our parents know this is not okay. Does anybody have any questions of me?
Ms. Lawson, how many DOE positions are there, DOH positions and agency positions?
I know that right now there's over 400 vacancies on the DOH side, please. So the DOE has some. I think they just did some recruitment for district right. But that's usually not the biggest issue. The issue is DOH because of pay and benefits and the pension.
It's about 600 DOE nurses, right? Yeah. And then about 700 to 800 DOH nurses.
About 800.
And about 400 agencies. Can you say that again? 600 DOE nurses.
The data, the numbers break down to a little less than 600 DOE nurses, around 700 DOH nurses, and 400 vacancies, which are being filled by contract nurses, right? So that's the three sort of tiered structure. Right. So, I mean, I think the point is, and this goes back to equal pay for equal work, it also really points to the intersection of the pay discrimination for a field that's largely filled by women, and how male decision makers avoid solutions when it comes to fairness in pay and benefits for women in women's work. And it intersects with public health, and it intersects with our public school system. I actually think, I'll just put my candidate hat on for a second, but there's another piece of it here, which is affordability in general, because nurses can't afford to live in Manhattan. Right?
Or the city.
And the average price for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan is $3,000 a month. And you really need to be making close to $100,000 a year if you're going to afford that rent.
I'll put it out there. My check is $17.50 and my rent is $16.25.
There you go. New Yorkers all throughout life have paid more than they should for housing. But it's ridiculous for an essential working position to be that low relative to basic cost of living. AMI, which is 80 grand for the entire city. And DOH nurses don't start out with a salary high enough to meet that either.
And this is structural racism.
This is structural racism and sexism.
And discrimination. I mean, look at, you can see the zip code. I work in it. That's
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We don't talk about it, but it's really color that really
Yeah, school nurses are not paid enough and are not paid well and are not paid equitably across the landscape of school nurses.
But we're the first ones to step up.
It comes under the low income wage. You see the numbers.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for housing, you don't fit because you're on a low income wage. So you have to go to social housing. That the HO net, you look at that.
So housing, we're talking about housing, how equal pay for equal work for nurses is also
Equal work.
equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. Equal pay for equal work. And we need a nurse in every school. 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 I want to point out as well, just so that I'm sure everyone saw the big news that the mayor announced on Morning Joe the other day, that the fall will be a complete in-person operation, right? It was Tuesday morning, I think. And that took place, and then just afterwards, the letter came out, the email came out from the chancellor that outlined what the mayor had said publicly on the media. What I found incredible about that letter is that it says that there is a nurse in every school, and that is a lie. They are lying to us. The contract nurses don't have access to our student health records. And we are in a pandemic still. Only permanent full-time nurses are able to provide a quality level of care. You guys are able to provide our kids with a quality level of care that we need even more as we open our school system again in the fall, because we are at risk of spikes from COVID. We're at risk from variants that we don't know about, and the next pandemic.
The other thing, too, is that schools, there's a research in my last night said that if for those schools with school nurses, teachers have an extra 25 minutes a day on average to teach. Because they're dealing with sick kids and they're calling parents and sick kids are staying in the class and they can't. It's a lot. We really affect education. I'll give you my sign last night out of reference.
Okay, yes, I think that would be great. Make sure that we get that information.
COVID testing protocol in 47 schools starts on June 1st. Oh, yeah. COVID testing. Hi, I'm Doreen Lingham. I'm one of the newly elected officers for UFT for DOE.